Ba-da-ba-da-ba. Hello gang, and welcome back. My name's Bodie. just dropping little things here and there. We are about to talk about something serious. Serious, I tell you, serious. I know I'm not producing content like I used to. I don't care, I'm enjoying life. Having a great time. So, what we have right here is the remnants of a Husqvarna 55 Rancha. I had this guy, I can't remember your name, he's a watcher of the channel, recommend to me that I should make the ultimate 55. And I thought that was kind of cute because, yeah, I'm ahead of you, or at least in theory, I am. You know what I mean? You know, things get in the way. You know, life happens and stuff. But I've got so many thoughts in my head. I really do love the platform of the 55. I think it would be awesome to make something that's really great. Like, if you're new to the channel and you haven't seen it yet, check out the Horizontal Hustle. Horizontal Hustle. I've got this whole playlist where I think it was 29 different builders sent in a built Husqvarna 55 or 50 or 51. And we had this competition. It's surprising how few people know that it happened. You know, but anyways, look it out. Just go to my channel homepage and do a search, or maybe I'll do a little bit of extra editing and put it actually in the content, a link to that playlist. But there were some really cool 55s. Some people did some really cool shit. Ever since then, and even before then, I've been thinking about really going all out and doing my bestest on I said bestest, on a Husqvarna 55. And here's where I'm at. I went to a local chainsaw shop just not long ago. A couple weeks ago, and I was just looking around. They had parts, and the guy who emailed me saying I should build an ultimate Husqvarna 55, he did it like 2 or 3 days prior to me being in this shop, and I'm looking around at all the different things that are there, and I'm like, huh. Oh, what's that? And I said, oh my God, it's serendipity. Is that right? Is it serendipity? So this, the guy didn't know what he had. It was an Amish shop, and he had just bought the parts, whatever. Anyways, the point is it was marked for a 372, and he's like, I don't think that's for a 372. I think it's 572. And I was like, well, I don't think it's 572 either. What's the number? And he couldn't look it up and everything. So anyways, I got this for 80 bucks. And what it is, because I'm a freak and know all kinds of shit about chainsaws, I knew I was staring down the barrel of a 357 XP full wrap. And I do know because of Saws on the Farm, right? He has made one of these things work, and you can make them work on a multitude of things. All it is a small setup, and so it's a full wrap that you can get, and you can make it work on multiple different things. One of the things for sure, Saws on the Farm has one, is a Husky 55 that he's got a 355 XP full wrap handle for. And I saw it sitting there, and I was like, oh my God, that guy just sent me an email. And so I got it, and I got it for 80 bucks. We will employ that on this saw. But where I'm at, and now that all the rambling, I'm bad, right? I have broken it down to the crank. This is the crankshaft out of this Husqvarna 55. And this, yes, this is the crankshaft for a 357 XP. And this, wait a minute. Is that the crankshaft for 357 XP? No, I think this is the crankshaft for the 357 XP. This is a crankshaft for a 550 XP Mark Uno. And this, no, Mark II, boy. And this is the crankshaft for a 550. Fuck, man, I'm all over the place. I'm gonna have to edit this video. This is the crankshaft for a 550 XP Mark I, 550 XP Mark II, 357 XP. All right, now I've been messing around with all these and seeing where they are similar, where they're different to this, blah, la, 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 la. And what I have figured out is that the width of this guy right here, we're gonna show you real quick. Bink. All right, whatever that measurement is, I don't care. This is the Mark II. And the difference in width is literally about 8/1000ths of an inch, which is nothing. I can take this, I can put this in my lathe, and I can take a little bit of material off of this with, honestly, 6/1000ths of an inch. I know there's going to be some people out there that are like a stickler about this stuff. And, oh, you can do it. But I could take 6/1000ths of an inch off of this with a grinder. You know, just there's ways to mount a grinder and everything. All you have to do is smooth, and 6/1000ths of an inch is nothing. So I'm not worried about that. But that's neither here nor there. The point is the width, I can get that to match up bigly. What I can't get to match up, or at least not without some serious work, are each ends, the flywheel side and the clutch side are significantly different than on the 55. But the journals being the right size, and of course I could always just remove those, and there's my 6/1000ths of an inch plus, gone. That I don't have to run the crankcase stuffers. But I'm trying to figure out, I want to stroke this 55. And now Brennan stroked his. I'm not 100% sure how he did it. I believe he used a 357 XP or 359 crankshaft. But even with that, the difference between the two is significant, right? And so what did he actually do? I don't know. So anyways, that's where I'm at. So you learn nothing from this video. It's just a bunch of rambling and mumble jumble bullshit. I'm sorry for that, but hey, life is different for me right now, and I'm trying to figure out where I'm at and do things here and there. I've got to install a receptacle so I can make my welder work, all kinds of shit. So anyways, I'm trying to figure out what to do, how I'm going to stroke this thing. Now, it seems like it would be really easy to stroke this, and I might go that route. And I say really easy, like, well, it's not going to be really easy, but simple. Easy? No. Simple? Yes. There's a multitude of ways I could make a ring, right, that perfectly fits around this. Weld it all in place. Once it's all welded in place and secured, then I can take and I can push this pin out. Once that pin is out, drilling that hole 1 millimeter further, right, would be very easy for a machine shop to do. Then we put the pin back in place, the the rod back in place and all that stuff, and you weld it up, right? Weld it all up and everything. That's very easy for a shop to do. Then that ring that you made, you cut that loose. You cut it away. Is it going to be perfect? No, but this is how I would do it, and I think that's how shops do it. You must simply find a way to keep those journals matched and perfect and not moving. Then that pin just presses out, right? I've pressed apart cranks before, it's not a big deal. But you get that out of there, and then on a Bridgeport, or a milling machine, you milled that same hole just a millimeter over, and then you weld it back together. So I could go that route and do this, but I want this route. I want to use a 550 XP Mark I crankshaft. Why? Because it's 34.5 millimeter stroke compared to a 32 millimeter stroke, compared to a 34 millimeter stroke, right? And it has a shorter rod, right? The 550 XP Mark I has a significantly larger rod. Well, with this one right here, I'm already lengthening everything fairly considerable. It's going to have a longer stroke and everything. And so I think that this is the way to go, right? And specifically, I want that extra 0.5. Because if I can find a way to use this 550 XP Mark I crankshaft in a 55 with the 45 millimeter bore, which is that's the cylinder I plan on using as of right now. All right, so the 45 millimeter bore and the 34.5 millimeter stroke gives me a lovely 55 cc's. And the goal is to make the ultimate 55, right? And now I will admit that the gentleman that contacted me with the email, he did say something that I had not thought of, and that was calling it the 55 XP. And I think if I did something like this, I'm going to have the closed port cylinder, the 45 millimeter closed port cylinder, 34.5 millimeter crankshaft, crankcase stuffers. I think I'll have a really fun little saw to play with. 55 cc, 55 XP, that's going to be really, really cool. And this is the stage that I'm at. So the only thing that I can think of doing is either A, stroking this right here, stroking it, which I don't want to do. Because I think I want to at least have the option of utilizing the crank stuffers, right? I don't know. Do I need the stuffers? Maybe stroking this would be the best thing to do and not use the stuffers. That would probably give me a broader power band, and I'm not looking to win any races here. What do you guys think? Should I push forward and try to adapt this crankshaft, which is the 34.5 millimeter 550 XP Mark I? Should I try and use this crankshaft in the saw, or should I take the original crankshaft and just stroke it? And I got to say, if I stroked it, I'd go ahead and I'd go with 35 millimeter. I wouldn't go with 34.5. Wouldn't do 34 either, because 34 doesn't bring you close enough to 55 cc's to make it worthwhile. Because I want to say it's 55 cc's. I know, stupid. All of this stuff is. All of it is. All of this is. It's just hobbies. It's like knitting, crochet, painting art that no one will ever buy. You know, all this stuff is just hobby. So, but if I stroke this an extra 1.5 millimeter, it goes both ways. So you got 1.5 and 1.5. So that gives you 3 extra millimeters of stroke, which would give you a 35 millimeter stroke, and that 35 millimeter of stroke would give you like 55.6 cc's or something like that. I can't remember, 55.475, something. I don't have it right off the top of my head. But I would still be able to call it a 55 cc, and we call it the 55 XP. And here we are. What should I do? What do you guys think? Should I push forward and try to adapt this crankshaft to go in, or should I push forward and stroke this one? And that's where I'm at. Let me know. Because if I tried to adapt this one, I might be able to do it here. I could get some CBN inserts, and I might be able on my lathe to literally cut these off and make a post. I don't know what else to call it. On one side you have basically a male and a female fitting, and you turn down, let's say I turn this crankshaft down to, I don't know, 6 millimeter sticking out, and then I cut off these posts, and I have a female side of them that's also a matching 6 millimeter. You actually want to do it just a little bit bigger and smaller so that it's a super tight fit, and put them together and weld them up, and then machine the weld off and everything. It's doable, but basically you'd be lopping these off and lopping the ones off of the original 55 crank and welding them onto this. And that is not simple. Whereas stroking this is very simple. Again, not easy, but simple to think about and do. Any good machine shop should be able to do it. Like a good one, a good machine shop, you know. Just a fabrication shop wouldn't be able to do this, you know. Just a plain Jane fab shop, but a good machine shop should be able to take care of this business. Anyways, that's where we're at. That's what Bodie's effing around with. Trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Or I could just leave it a stock crank, because really, what's the point? I'll never get the money back out of it, ever. Can't race it, nothing. This is just for fun. This is just for, hey, look what I did, you know? I mean, Brennan, he's got a real showpiece with his. Again, if you haven't watched the series, watch it, because Brennan basically, I think what he did was he took a 357 XP crankshaft, and he stuffed it into the bottom end of a 50. It was a 50. He didn't use I think it was a 50. It wasn't a 51 or a 55, it was a 50. So that gave him a 34 millimeter stroke, and then he used the cylinder off of a 268. I think that's what he had going on, a Husqvarna 268 cylinder, because my deal was you had to use an open port cylinder. And so that gave him, 66 cc's, or 67, however you want to look at it. And that thing ran great. And it ran great too. It's like, it's a good running saw, fire it up, idle, didn't overheat. You could actually use that, take it out and use it and stuff. And that's what I'm looking to do with this. I want to use it. I don't want to race it, And so that makes me think more and more I should just go with the regular crank. Because what stuffers do, stuffers give you more RPM. And, Do they give you more? It's a whole convoluted thing. But basically look at it this way. If you have stuffers, you've got to be really specific at where you put your upper transfers when they come on, right? Whereas without stuffers, it's quite a bit more forgiving. And you can have generally you have a broader power band, you know, whereas with the stuffers, you make great power at, I don't know, 10.5. That's your peak right there. You're boom. Anything below 10, anything above 11, Whereas without stuffers, it's more likely that you're going to make power really well from 9,000 to 12,000. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? It's broader, you know, which is much more desirable for an actual user. Anyway, talky talk. All right. Maybe you'll see me again. Maybe you won't. Later.